Hello and welcome to the Newsagent podcast. My name is Victoria Brush and I'm a Senior Content Executive for Goodlord. This is a recording of our webinar, Minimise Fraud and Referencing with Goodlord Pro. In this podcast, we'll hear from Emily Popple, Costas Frangeskou, Nishma Parekh and Becca Kimberly to discuss the current fraud landscape for letting agents during the referencing process and how Goodlord is taking a different approach. And now onto the podcast.
Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Emily Popple, Director of Referencing Transformation at Goodlord, and today we're joined by Costas Frangeskou, our Director of Growth, and Nishma Parekh, our Head of Referencing. We're also joined by Rebecca Kimberly, one of our wonderful referencing executives, and we're all here today to talk you through our new Reference Pro. We're going to go through the fraud landscape for letting agents and how we're taking a different approach. So here's our agenda. First, we will take you through that referencing fraud landscape, and then we'll go through what the issues are with document verification. We'll then give you the overview of Goodlord Pro, and we will have time at the end for a live Q&A. So please do get your questions in. There is a chat box on the side. We'll be monitoring them and answering as many as we can before we finish. But before we dive into all of that, we do have something very special to share with you. We haven't been allowed to say, as it's been a secret. But last week we had a special visitor who came to find out about Goodlord and Pro. That is right. Rishi Sunak himself came to the Goodlord office to find out more about tenant referencing fraud. We weren't allowed to take pictures. A colleague got this sneaky one. But I am very excited to share this letter that we got from Westminster praising Goodlord and Pro. Well, maybe we might have lied about that one. Maybe some of you did a double take for a quick second. But even if one of you fell for it, what would you do if you're in a situation where fraud was a lot more sophisticated? Because actually, that's what we are here to talk about today. In a world of deep fakes, where you can have a celebrity talking as if they're doing the agenda of this webinar, technology, Photoshop, and all of the artificial intelligence that is out there, it's really becoming harder to separate fake news from real news. And so why is that relevant now and for referencing? Well, I'm going to hand over to Costas and he will explain.
Thank you, Emily. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the landscape of referencing. We're going to talk about the reality, what are the actual facts rather than the myths. And also we're going to talk about how we're tackling that as well. Yes, I'm Costas. I'm Director of Growth. So we're going to talk about fraud and its vulnerabilities in referencing. We're not actually talking about anything new. It's all at the forefront of referencing suppliers at the moment in the sector. And fraud is something that we're all currently aligning on more than ever as suppliers. If you read any industry blogs, whether it's Property Industry Eye, Letting Agent Today, Negotiator, there's many out there, you'll see how much noise there is around at the moment about fraud in our marketplace. There's even been stories in the Times, the Telegraph recently about vulnerabilities on tenants regarding the referencing process as well. So tenant referencing providers sitting at the moment in two separate camps. The first camp are the providers that are more people dependent. So they're using people to try and identify what is a good document, what is a fraudulent document. Other suppliers are using the best technology they can find to identify fraudulent documents and hoping that their technology is better than the technology being used by the fraudsters. But as we know, technology is moving at such a great pace. And also the fraudsters, professional fraudsters in particular, they know what that technology is looking for and potentially how they can work around it. So Goodlord's on a mission to remove the dependency on documents, because the only way really to deal with document fraud is removing the documents altogether. With this, we can protect our industry and its landlords and its tenants. So we've admitted fraud is an issue, but what is the most common referencing fraud? I'm going to pass over to Nishma to talk to you about what we see here at Goodlord.
Thanks, Costas. So my name is Nishma and I work as a head of referencing, and I eat, breathe and live referencing. And one of the key things that we've been looking at over the past couple of years is referencing fraud and how common it is. And we wanted to do get a real good understanding of what that looks like. And so we did a bit of a deep dive and we used a sample size of 600,000 applications. So we took 300,000 references from 2022 and 300,000 from 2023. And we found that cases of referencing fraud have actually increased by 140% in 1 year alone. If you think about the numbers, in 2022, we were confirming around 1 case of fraud per 1,000 applications. Now we're picking up nearly 3 per 1,000 applications. So that's a really huge, significant increase in such a short period of time. And then we were also trying to work out what that meant as a cost to the agency for you as a letting agent. And it's a really huge amount. As I'm sure you know, if you let one fraudulent reference get through the net, and on average, the average lifetime value of a landlord is 15,000. And so that's a huge amount of money. And that's not even considering the fact that it takes on average 32 weeks to secure vacant possession of property when it falls into arrears. And that's just because one fraudulent reference has got through the net. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, look, I actually don't really deal with high value tenancies, so I'm not sure this really affects me. But that's not the case. We're seeing those fraudulent references for all sorts of different properties up and down the country. And you're still set to lose income if a fraudulent tenancy isn't flagged. And again, that's just the cost for the agency. Of course, for your landlord, it's going to be a lot more. And I think we all know, will the landlord want to continue working with you after they've been through a situation like that, which could have been avoided? And the likelihood is, probably not. That's the truth of it. And so when we were looking at in that deep dive about what makes tenant referencing so vulnerable, because there's so many different points in the referencing journey, there's so many different vulnerabilities in assessing whether or not a tenant is right for your property, for your landlord's property, we actually identified that 95% of fraud comes from income. That number is just overwhelming then, 95%. There is a small amount of the 5 that comes from other checks, such as residential checks, ID checks, for example, fake passports and doctor credit checks. And the truth is, even if this doesn't impact you today and you've not had anything like this happen, as we know, it's just that one fraudulent reference that's going to have a notable impact on the agency. And that means that we want to help agencies, we want to help you to focus on ways of making sure that that tenant is earning what they say they earn and they can afford the landlord's property. So Costas, can you just give us a bit of a run through, a bit of a flavour of that 95% of income fraud? What does that actually mean?
Thank you, Nishma. So we said, fraud is fraud of income is the most common form of tenancy and fraud. It's 95% of the cases we see, and we hear similar numbers from other suppliers as well. This means your agency needs to protect itself by getting a reference that verifies your tenant's income correctly. Agents for a long time have been relying on standards that were built for a different time and very different challenges than we have today. The problem is that the world has changed in the last 20, 10, and especially the last 3 to 4 years, as I'm sure we all admit. Fraud is becoming more common, and there is also evidence that it's becoming more of a professional activity. We've moved away from the days where you can see the white Tipp-Ex on those, old grey and blue pay slips. I'm sure some of you remember that. Or the days where someone would write over a date or an amount with a black biro, hoping that you won't notice that the number's twice the size of all the other numbers on the pay slip. That's all changed now. People have access to sophisticated software today and printers that they can have at home. It's very different. Tenants can also sign up to Sage and other providers from free trials with limited barriers, and therefore they can use real documents to defraud people. Documents that technology and people can't obviously take as a fraudulent document. They're using the real thing. So checking documents still has its place though, but that should only be used in the minority of cases where references are more complicated and they need that further look. But we need to stay ahead, and we need to stay more sophisticated than our fraudsters are, so that we can stay that one step ahead. This means that we need to focus on getting away from verifying documents and look for better sources and direct sources of truth to avoid that fraud. So that's where Pro comes in. And I'm going to pass back over to Emily to talk to us a little bit more about Pro and how Pro does that.
Yeah, thank you, Costas, and Nishma as well. Income fraud really is out there, isn't it? And the thing that we're doing with Pro is we're really trying to give you a reference that you can start selecting from today that really aims to eliminate as much as possible of that risk. Pro is the only option that is prioritizing reducing that dependency on documentation, and we're doing that by currently we only have open banking, but we are expanding that to add in a further 2 direct integrations that your tenants will have the choices for, and guarantors too. And so what we're doing is we're integrating directly with the HMRC, and we're integrating directly with digital payroll providers. So you may not know, but if you pay payroll and use a system, it will be digitized, and that is available through an API that with applicants saying yes, we can pull that data. What we're trying to do with this is really make it a slick process for that applicant. And so our journey in the Pro reference follows asking them, as we do today, to select open banking. And if they decline that, and I think you all may understand and know some tenants or guarantors in that space that are a little bit more hesitant about connecting to a bank, what we're doing here is we're giving them two other options that are, as we've seen, and I've got some data in a second, a lot more, appealing to those who are a bit sensitive. The journey is slick. We've got 3 clicks to get through to get this information in our back and forth chat experience that our applicant will fill in. For the first one, we will be offering them payroll, and they click, they confirm that this is the employer that they've got, and they consent that we can pull that data. And the payroll integration actually pulls through what their base salary is, what their last pay slip was, their gross pay, what their last 3 months was, what their last 12 months was. You can kind of think of this exactly like what a referee would tell us if we got a response back on an email or a response back from a phone call to them. However, it's not liable to any risks because it is exactly as is inputted and reported on. And if they don't want to do the payroll, we will offer them the HMRC route as well. And that is obtaining 12 months of income history as reported to the government. And we believe that that is a really robust way to help you and your landlords understand the financial viability of an applicant. These are all offered as standard with Pro. It's not a bolt-on. It's something that we really believe should be added in as the standard experience. And it's offering a lot more protection in our existing references that we've been doing. We've seen that 2 in 3 applicants who choose not to use open banking are choosing to verify their income with one of these other options. So imagine increasing your protection by 66% more. Those applicants that would have gone through this route that we believe to be outdated and prone to risk, we're giving you that security and really umping up how many applicants can go through one of those. We were one of the first major suppliers, we think the first, to introduce open banking when it was dismissed, and now it's very standard. And you can think about these 2 other options in exactly the same way. We're leading the industry into worldwide documentation is a thing of the past. And so I'm going to pass to Costas actually to give you some flavour about what this means for tenants in practice.
So let's put this into context. Let's use some reality in your everyday lives as agents. At the moment, a lot of tenants still need to provide pay slips to verify their income. We all know that. But actually, this can be a massive challenge and a blocker for tenants, whether it's knowing what pay slips they need to provide. They might be just coming up to the next one, having easy access to them on paper or online, including remembering where they put their pay slips or what their password was to log in. I'm sure you're all thinking of tenants as I said that, and plenty of examples where that happens. All of this causes long delays, and it's not good for you. It's not good for the landlord. It's definitely not good for the tenant. So we're going to put an example here. We've got some examples on the screen, but take, for example, someone working in the NHS. It can typically take a referencing supplier 5 to 10 working days on average to confirm pay slips for the NHS. That's nothing we can do, nothing we can change. That's just the process that they use. All of these challenges are no longer relevant with Pro. And that's because we can go directly to the payroll provider, the best available source of truth, so we can verify their income without needing to wait, which means we don't need to use pay slips at all. This means people in the NHS and other sectors can focus less on stress of moving and more on their day-to-day jobs. Back to you, Nishma.
I think that's such a key point, isn't it? It's that we want to help those people that need that support quickly. But as we all know, fraudsters work hard, but we want Pro to work even harder. And so this is our introduction to the edition 2 of our risk service. And with Pro, it now provides even more insight than before to identify those suspicious applications even. Our risk service checks every applicant using a large growing list of data points, and that ranges from the National Fraud Database, Deceased Database, email authenticity, and we're going to continue to add to our risk service throughout the year with new data points as well. So you're going to see, edition 3, edition 4. And behind all of these data points, we're talking a lot about the tech side of things, right? Our specialist team here are experts. We already successfully catch thousands of attempts, which now will only increase with the use of Pro. And with these 45 data points and ever increasing, we have got multiple opportunities to stop fraudsters. We are learning how they're attempting to get through, and we are committed to working with you and your team on this. We want to help and support you and your landlords, and we want to get this right. So this is about partnership working and what we can do. So for that reason, to protect you, we're not going to give out specifics about what is or isn't in our risk service identified in all those different data points, because we want to support you guys with a strong service, but also to prevent those fraudsters coming back through. We want to make your lives easier, and we know that there are going to be complications, and we want to help and support you on that. Now, talking about complications, we know that sometimes references aren't always easy. They're going to be complicated. There's going to be some, complex circumstances. Even something like somebody's just only started their job and they've only been in it for a month, or they've just arrived in the UK. There's so many times, and I'm sure you guys have it every day, where tenants, for them, the referencing isn't so easy. There could be super complicated ones where half of their rent's coming from their dead aunt, sister's friend twice removed, and other half's kind of tied up in an investment fund. There's always going to be circumstances where it isn't going to be as simple. But the reality is that there are complicated references, but the way that we do things in referencing at Goodlord and with Pro is to make it as easy as we possibly can. We've changed our setup, so our referencing team actually handle the reference end to end. And so what does that mean? Effectively means that they own that reference, and they will monitor that reference throughout the entire process and pick it up at any point if something's going wrong or something needs to be changed. And one of the things I wanted to introduce you to, I say things, but one of the concepts is the people behind the product. And we actually have one of our people from the team who's going to talk about their experience working as a referencing exec. Welcome, Becca.
Thanks, Nishma. I'm Becca, and one of the reasons why I enjoy referencing so much is I've always loved being in that customer-facing environment, building rapport with both the letting agents and talking to the tenants and guarantors and hearing their stories. I understand the stress that comes with moving on the tenant side. I'm a person who had to move 5 times in 4 years, all on a very time-sensitive scale, and it is very stressful. But I also understand it from a letting agent's point of view. I have over 4 years of experience in the industry, so I know you don't want to let your landlords or customers down. I enjoy working as a team together with both agents and tenants to find the most efficient and fastest solutions, which is just a win-win for everyone. But for myself, with Pro, I was privileged enough to be one of the original testers for it, and it's been a great journey to watch its development and becoming the service that it is now today. This allows myself as a referencing executive to have full ownership of the reference and knowing I can be proactive, allowing a better working dynamic with the agents as well as those I work alongside with in our squad.
Thanks, Becca. It is great to hear how excited you are for Pro, and that is just one of many Pro puns that we've had around the office in recent weeks. You will not believe how many different Pro words there are. But we do believe, we're really excited about it because we believe it's the smartest and the most secure in the market. But there are also various other benefits off the back of this work that we've done, and we want to just cover a couple of those now. One of the key ones is speed. Before we started building Pro, we asked our customers what they wanted from a reference. We hear it from non-customers as well. Getting a complete reference with all the 4 checks in a timely manner, was hard. And we're seeing Pro in an exciting turn of events, turn around these complete references in 1.5 days on average. So no matter if they're the complicated one or not, 1.5 days start to finish, which we're really, really proud of. And so that's 1 in 4 of those references as well, coming back instantly. And we must emphasize that's a complete reference, doing a credit and a residential and this income check and your credit checks. And so having 1 in 4 tenants fill in a form and you there and then being able to secure that is what we want to partner with you on, and to give you that level up against any competition. We've also got really good feedback from applicants where they're enjoying the change of Pro. The customer feedback scores are a 96%, which is really important for us. Goodlord's mission is the best renting experience in the world. And also, hopefully for you and your staff, if your applicants are happier, there should be less friction in that experience, and you can have your team doing what you want them to be doing. Or if that's you, you can be doing what you want to be doing, not dealing with a really, really confused applicant about which payslip is the right one to send back to Goodlord, and I don't understand what's happening. They're going to do it there and then they won't bother you, which is like just exactly where we want to move everything. And finally, you think about the Goodlord suite, we do have great integrations in the rest of the tenancy flow. It doesn't just stop when we've sent you that finished referencing report. They've had a lovely, nice design refresh to keep you being able to present that back to your landlords. They've got extra information in, they're GDPR friendly, and we've got functionality in our platform to be able to send them off to your landlords for approval or declining with a reason. And one of the great additions here is our opportunity to offer your additional services to your landlord at that point as well. So if they haven't taken them initially, you have a second opportunity in your your journey of getting great tenants in for them to take on some of your other products and services, all integrated in our tenancy flow. So we will leave you with a summary of Pro, where you can see all of the features and benefits in one place. So you can see on this slide, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we really believe it's the right blend of everything. We're getting you the checks that you want and you need. We're getting it from the right sources, comprehensive, it's being fast and it's secure. And every agency of ours gets a dedicated team of specialists. Becca will be in one of our team. You are lucky if you've got her. And we are really trying to drive for that consistent approach.
And just a reminder, obviously, we're talking a lot about Pro today, but we do have a full kind of referencing suite that kind of suits certain needs that you might have. So, for example, still have Essential that has a credit and ID check that can quickly return the information you need, ideal for example, agencies that deal with students. We, of course, have Pro, combining kind of the best of terms of our people and our product. And then you also have Priority as well. And Priority basically puts that reference at the top of the list, at the top of the queue, and you get a really consultative approach on how you want to proceed. And it's matched with one of our kind of skilled referencing colleagues who will be looking after that end to end, same as Pro, basically. So it's perfect for those situations where you really want that extra support and you really want that extra kind of piece of communication, and we can support you with that. And so that's Essential, Pro, and Priority still available here to you.
Fabulous, thank you. And so we've had some questions come through, and we're going to cover a couple of them now. If we don't get to your question, we've got them all, and we will be able to come back to you, especially if you've left your name. But thank you for those that have sent them. So my first question, I will ask Nishma this one. This comes from Folio London, who've asked, would this prevent from needing a referee on the reference? I'm assuming this is if we've done open banking or payroll or HMRC, would we still need a referee if we've done one of those checks?
No, you wouldn't. And so that's the great thing about Pro, is not only does it not rely on the other person, that third party reference, which we know can take more than 1 or 2, 3 days in order to get back. We also know that sometimes those referee references, and when we did our sort of kind of data deep dive, as it were, they can be fraudulent. They can be doctored, they can be masked and altered. So this is where I think Pro is so key in being able to get around that, rather than us trying to think around, well, how can we make this referee reference better and catch those fraudsters? Let's not worry about that. Let's just go to the source, open banking, HMRC or payroll, and then not only does that take that risk away, you get a much quicker turnaround time as well.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, Nishma. Thank you. And hope that's helped you there, Folio. One for you, Costas, from Leanne, who's asked if we can send a breakdown of pricing because her boss is eager to hear about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm not surprised that question has come up today. In terms of pricing wise, obviously, Goodlord's already been investing for over a year now into this technology. So we're happy to make that investment on behalf of our customers. There's also payoffs here as well. Pro means that referencing will be faster. It means there are less risks. So from that perspective, there are cost savings in terms of what we've invested in, but there are ongoing costs as well with these third-party providers. In terms of price-wise, that will really depend on what package you're on. And obviously we have different people on the webinar today. So my best advice would be speak to your success manager or your account manager If you're a new business that looking to use us, then contact us on sales. We'll go through the different packages available, but I promise you, you'll be happy to hear that we've been able to actually look at where we can also make savings, so we can bring this to market at a competitive price.
Yeah, fabulous. And all our team are ready and willing to and eager to talk to our current customers about what this means. Somebody has asked, when will this be available? It is available, and actually all of our customers will be able to have access to this. We'll be sending some communication out to you, but we are in a live state right now, which is very exciting to us. Got a couple more questions. Wow, they're really flying in. From Alwyn, will you report fraudulent applications to the National Fraud Database? Nishma, do you want to take that one?
Yes, I can take that one. Yes, we will be. So the National Fraud Database is effectively an agreement with suppliers like ourselves that we basically log into that system and we share that information to help and protect each other. So the benefit is, now that we are part of that National Fraud Database, we have access to information that's been submitted there, but we're also able to contribute to that kind of microcosm. I don't know what the word might be, but the community of information that's out there, and to help and support each other. So we're also supporting other suppliers as well, while supporting you.
Yeah, it's really important. There's a various range of who's on that database, and that's why it's great. I'm going to go back to you, Nishma, about self-employed applicants, because Hannah and a few other people have mentioned that they take a long time. Is this going to address any of those frustrations?
Yeah, that's a really good well, they're really good points. And we know that being self-employed, it can be a trickier process. So at the moment, we're working on a flow to be introduced into Pro, coming up in the next few quarters, a pathway for HMRC integration for self-employed. So then it removes all of the needs of trying to find the relevant documentation, downloading it. Where did I put that? Did I print it? All of that. They will log straight into the HMRC integration, and they'll be able to do it as a PAYE would be able to do. And it's on our roadmap and it's in our plan. So we're really keen to get that up and running. So that good thing is, you guys are very excited about it and you're asking a lot of questions, which means we're on the right track.
Thank you. We've got time for probably 2 or 3 more questions, but there are a lot, so we will be following up. Josh has asked Costas, how does it integrate with the rent guarantee?
So I think one of the benefits here on the rent guarantee is, obviously, we're capturing more fraud. That means we can continue to offer more value. So no change to what it is today. Our referencing exactly the same as which of references you might be using with Goodlord today. So you shouldn't notice any change at all. The only change you should notice is that we'll be capturing more people before they get to move in.
Yeah, excellent. Really key to us. Very much the same. It's eligible and even better than ever in terms of the checks that we're doing before it. Finally, I think this has come through from Kate. There was just a question on how can we help applicants understand what these solutions are, what the HMRC flow is and what the payroll is. Is there any sort of supporting help that we're offering there? Possibly you, Nishma, to help me there?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we've been working behind the scenes to get that sorted. We've been looking at sort of videos and mock-ups and everything like that. One that will sit on the help guide in the help center for any tenants, any prospective tenants, but there'll also be kind of video and information within the referencing journeys. So when they're submitting their information, there'll be videos available so they can see what that particular process will look like. So we completely get that people can be a little bit hesitant. What are you going to do with my data? Obviously, you would have seen that through open banking as well. People, slightly concerned. We do explain what that is and how we look after their data. And we'll also be able to explain to them what that HMRC and payroll integration looks like. So, and as Emily was talking about there earlier, it's a really simple concept in terms of click, consent and confirm. So it'll be really easy for them, but we can get some more of that information out there. Please reach out to your success account managers if you would like to see more of that. And of course, if you aren't one of our agencies yet, please speak to our sales team.
Yeah, thank you, Nishma. I think that's a really important call out, actually. All our current customers, the Agent Hub is going to keep being added to with extra one-pagers and extra videos, etc., that will help you and your staff understand what this new journey looks like. And I'm going to wrap the questions up there. There are a lot more, but thankfully you put your names in so we can go directly to you. And to wrap us up, Costas, hopefully you're not going to wrap, but you'll wrap us up, please.
Definitely not. Thanks, Emily. But yeah, so if you're already a customer of Goodlord, firstly, thank you. Secondly, if you want to find out more, there's different ways you can do that. So you can reach out directly to your account manager if you've got their details. If you haven't got them to hand, don't worry. just email us at success@goodlord.co and we'll find your account manager and they'll get straight back to you. On the other hand, you can wait until the end of the webinar and there'll be an opportunity for you to click to say, yes, please provide me with a demo, and then we'll align your email address with the right account manager and they'll get back to you in the next 24 hours. If you're not a customer yet, what have you been doing? But don't worry, don't feel left out. You can also contact us, sales@goodlord.co. Once again, you can click at the end of this webinar for a free demo as well. So we can actually walk you through it and you can see for yourself exactly what it looks like, and also all the other services that we use as well. So lots of different ways you can contact us and make it easy for you. And we look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.